6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Danushka Madhavala, read by Soundhi Thavam. President Ranil Wickremesinghe vows to build a debt-free economy. The Cabinet to be briefed on decisions taken at All-Party Conference on Reconciliation. The UN World Food Programme approves $74.87 million for Sri Lanka. Japan assures to assist Sri Lanka on debt restructuring. The Sapugaskanda oil refinery to resume operations from the 16th of December. China's diplomats leave the UK over Manchester protester attack. And France selected for FIFA World Cup finals. President Ranil Wickremesinghe has reiterated that he would work towards resurrecting the country from bankruptcy. Addressing an event in Kadawata yesterday, the head of state pledged to build a debt-free economy and to create a stable economy that is able to pay its debt. He attributed the country's bankruptcy to the lack of changes made to the economic program following the end of the civil war. President Wickremesinghe is hopeful of bringing in investment opportunities in order to take the country's economy forward by next year. He went on to stress the need for an institutional system that can revive the country's economy again and attract investment opportunities. Speaking further, he revealed that measures would be taken to establish an economic cooperation by merging the Investment Promotion Division of the Board of Investment (BOI) and the Export Development Board (EDB). Sri Lanka is expecting loans of up to $5 billion next year from multilateral agencies besides a deal with the IMF, Foreign Minister Ali Sabri told Reuters, adding that the government could raise up to $3 billion through the restructuring of state assets. Finance Minister Ali Sabri said that apart from what we get from the IMF, we are looking to all others, the multilaterals put together another $4 to $5 billion. Struggling with its worst economic crisis in more than 7 decades, Sri Lanka reached an IMF staff-level agreement in September for a loan of $2.9 billion, which could be approved for dispersal next year. The President's Media Division said the World Food Programme Executive Board approved Sri Lanka's country strategic plan for the period between January 2023 and December 2027, valued at $74.87 million. The WFP Sri Lanka CSP will be effective from January 2023 and is aligned with the National Policy Framework and consistent with the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework 2023 to 2027. The country strategic plan for 2023 to 2027 seeks to provide protective food assistance and other support as required in the short term and to restore and improve food security and nutrition by developing in-country capacity and reducing vulnerability through an integrated resilience and nutrition-sensitive approach that layers and sequences programming. The CSP is designed to support the country in achieving food security and improved nutrition by 2030, in line with the Substantial Development Goal 2. It also seeks to contribute to the progress of SDGs 1, 5, 10 and 13 and foster a reinforced partnership in strengthening the national humanitarian and development response in accordance with the SDG 17. You're listening to the news from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The State Minister of Finance, Shehan Semasinga, said a Japanese delegation has assured Japan's continued support to Sri Lanka on debt restructuring. The State Minister of Finance, Shehan Semasinga, met with the Japanese delegation led by Yutaka Arima, Director General, Southeast and Southwest Asian Affairs Department of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Japan, and Ambassador of Japan, Mr. Koshi Hideki, Tuesday at the Ministry of Finance. The discussion focused on Sri Lanka's current economic stabilization program, as well as reforms and measures that have been implemented recently to overcome the challenges. The two sides further discussed the progress of the debt treatment process to receiving financial assurances. It was emphasized that Japan will continue to support Sri Lanka with the debt treatment and recovery process. President Ranil Wickremesinghe stressed that all stakeholders and relevant parties should come to an agreement to solve the ethnic issue before the 75th Independence Day. The President made these comments while participating at an all-party conference held at the Presidential Secretariat recently. All parties should join hands together to solve this problem, the President added. The problem should be sorted out in 2 stages. Firstly, a comprehensive investigation should be carried out on the missing persons and a compensation should be declared based on the severity of the case. In addition to that, the revision of the PTA Act should be done with the consent of the stakeholders concerned, the President added. In the second stage, a permanent solution will be sought through the Parliament with the participation of all stakeholders and political parties representing Parliament. That concludes Local News.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation announced that the Sapugaskanda oil refinery, which had been out of production for several days without imported crude oil, is taking all necessary steps to resume operations from the 16th of December. Due to the shortage of crude oil, the authorities took steps to close the refinery on October 7th. A ship carrying 90,000 metric tons of imported Maban crude oil has already arrived at the Colombo port, and after completing the necessary payments, the corporation has started the unloading operations at the Sapugaskanda refinery tank complex. Also, in order to keep the refinery production stable in the future, the corporation has already completed the procurement process to import another 90,000 metric tons of crude oil. Although the refinery was closed for several days, since it was properly maintained under the supervision of the engineers, the CPC believes production can be restarted with full capacity and continued, and came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Watch Life is brought to you by
Celebrate Christmas and New Year with lots of CIB discounts. Valuable gifts with bank discounts till 31st of December. Come to CIB today.
The Consumer Affairs Authority says that continuous raids will be carried out in search of traders who sell exercise books, stationery and other school equipment by modifying the existing prices. According to information uncovered by the CAA, exercise books and other school equipment is being sold at higher rates than the existing prices by modifying the price ranges displayed on them, and came to you in Watchlight.
Celebrate Christmas and New Year with lots of CIB discounts. Valuable gifts with bank discounts till 31st of December. Come to CIB today.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
We give you the strength to rise higher and higher.
Never step back, but always march forward.
Empowering you to reach greater heights. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
Making headlines this morning, China's diplomats leave the UK over Manchester protester attack. The US planning to send Patriot air defense missiles. And Istanbul Mayor Imamoglu jailed for insulting public officials. China has removed 6 officials from Britain, including one of its most senior diplomats, 2 months after violence at its Manchester consulate. The UK had requested the officials waive their right to diplomatic immunity to allow detectives to question them about October's incident. Foreign Secretary James cleverly expressed his disappointment that none of the 6 would now face justice. The group included Consul General Zheng Xiaoyuan, who denied beating a protester. Pro-democracy protester Bob Chan, a Hong Konger, was injured after being dragged onto the consulate grounds and beaten by men on the 16th of October. The US is planning to send patriotic air defense missiles to Ukraine, US media reports say. President Joe Biden is likely to announce the move this week, according to unnamed officials. Ukraine has been questioning further air defense support for some time, as Russian attacks have continued to kill civilians and cause major blackouts. Patriot is one of the most advanced US air defense systems, but supplies to Ukraine are likely to be limited. It is not known how many of the batteries will be sent to Ukraine. A court in Turkey has sentenced the mayor of Istanbul to more than 2.5 years in prison for insulting public officials in a speech. Ekrem İmamoğlu was accused of the offence after saying those who annulled local elections in 2019 were fools. İmamoğlu, 52, beat a candidate from Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan's AK party to claim the city's mayoralty. His conviction may disqualify him from holding political office or standing in next year's presidential election. Imamoglu from the secular Republican People's Party is seen as one of the opposition's strongest candidates to take on Mr. Edgerton in elections which have to be held by next June. The case centres around comments Imamoglu made after he narrowly won the March 2019 mayoral election. The result was annulled following complaints from the AKP about voting irregularities, and the election board ordered a rerun. Back to the headlines of the world news. China's diplomats leave the UK over Manchester protester attack. The US planning to send Patriot air defense missiles. And Istanbul Mayor Imamoglu jailed for insulting public officials. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
Amidst all challenges, we will rally around you and advance.
In the face of hardships, let's stand strong together.
Empowering you to reach greater heights. People's listening, the trusted leader.
On to development news, the Chinese government has taken steps to provide solar power connections to 58 schools in the eastern province. The Chinese embassy in Sri Lanka is providing solar power connections at the request of the eastern province governor, Anuradha Yahampath. Initially, these solar power connections are being provided to 8 schools in Batticaloa district. Each of these is worth 10 lakh rupees. That's development news, and on to sports. France were pushed all the way by World Cup wildcards Morocco before the holders sealed a place in Sunday's final against Argentina. The first African side to reach a World Cup semi-final refused to buckle despite suffering the early blows of losing key defender Naif Ogurt to injury after he was named in the starting lineup, and then going behind to Theo Hernandez's scrambled 5th-minute goal. France, for all Morocco's endeavour and spirit, were more clinical, and substitute Randol Kolo Muani ensured they will defend their crown against Argentina and Lionel Messi at Lusail Stadium on Sunday, when he turned in Kylian Mbappe's deflected shot 11 minutes from time. Morocco also lost the clearly unfit Romain Saiz to injury before half-time, but rode on by their fanatical support. They came close to drawing level, especially when Javad El Yamik's overhead kick was kept out by a combination of the post and France keeper Hugo Lloris. That's sports news. We take a look at business news next.
The fastest way to earn the highest interest. An interest rate of 22% in 4 months. NSB, the safest place for your money.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
The US Central Bank has hiked interest rates again and warned more rises will be necessary to rein in the rapid pace of price increases. Forecasts from the Federal Reserve showed the bank's key interest rate could stand above 5% a year from now, but policymakers are starting to move more cautiously following signs that the most severe inflation in decades may be starting to ease. They agreed to lift the bank's key interest rate by 0.5 percentage points. That pushed the target range from the Fed's benchmark rate to 4.25% to 4.5%, the highest rate in 15 years. That's business news. Economic news up next.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
The fastest way to earn the highest interest. An interest rate of 22% in 4 months. NSB, the safest place for your money.
Economic news, courtesy of...
For the 5th consecutive year, LOLC is awarded People's Financial Services Brand of the Year at the 2022 Slim Kantar People's Awards. As the People's Financial Services Brand of the Year, LOLC continues to place the customer first, and this has won the hearts, minds and trust of Sri Lankans, with yet another prestigious award as proof of this lasting commitment. LOLC, imagine the possibilities.
Insi Cement, the sellers of Sunstar and Mahaveli Marine brands of cement, has decided to reduce the prices of its products. Accordingly, a 50-kilogram bag of cement will now be sold at 2,750 rupees. The price revision will be effective immediately. Insi stated, adding that the decision was taken in an attempt to support the construction industry. The company previously reduced the prices of their 50-kilogram cement bags by 100 rupees earlier this year in October. And that's economic news.
LOLC Finance is taking the power of innovation to the next level, winning 5 golds at the Technovation Awards 2022, leading the digital revolution with cutting-edge interbanking digital payments. LOLC Finance claims the overall gold award whilst also claiming an extraordinary victory in digital banking.